refrigeration at one state cheese factory.
It's in Milwaukee. It's called Formation Inc., and it's the home of the cheesehead. Ralph Bruno invented the oversized yellow wedge hat in 1987 from his mother's couch stuffing. It's now ubiquitous for Wisconsin sports fans. His business moved to a new, bigger location in 2016 and soon started formal factory tours where people can make their own cheeseheads or other foam products. The tour goers have to take a wedge of allegiance, and they come from literally all over the world. Bruno doesn't know exactly how many cheeseheads he's sold over the years, but it's enough, he says, to line the cheese arc to the West Coast. Say San Francisco. This weekend's NFC Championship game with the Packers taking on the 49ers have spiked sales. The company had to add extra shifts to meet demand. Gotta have a cheesehead.
I would love to see them actually being made.
They have all sorts of cheesehead stuff, not just wedges. All right, that's our time for now. Thanks for watching. News 3 Now at 5 starts right now.
Right now at 5, an investigation into a man's death in Mount Horeb takes a turn. What investigators thought was a hit and run is now being called a homicide.
We have the very latest on a crash in Middleton where a vehicle went through a business.
Plus, a teenager from Baraboo sits down with News 3 Now telling us why she's filing a lawsuit accusing the school district of not responding to claims of sexual assault and discrimination.
From the Channel3000.com Alert Center, this is News 3 Now at 5.
And we are following breaking news in just the last 20 minutes. Jefferson Middle School families were notified that Principal Tequila Kurth has taken an extended leave of absence.
The district says staff members and former East High Principal Mary Kelly will serve as the interim principal in the meantime. The district says it is putting a comprehensive support plan into place for the rest of the year. They say Kelly will work closely with current assistant principal Larry Love. They're calling a parent meeting to talk about these changes on February 6th. A previous meeting on the 23rd has been canceled. As we've reported, there have been several safety incidents at Jefferson Middle School in the past month, the most recent being yesterday. Our Madeline O'Neill is following this story, and she will have reaction tonight at 6.
Dane County Sheriff's Office wants your help solving a homicide investigation.
This case started as a hit and run yesterday, but it changed dramatically. Amy Reed joins us now with what we know so far about a jogger that was killed in Mount Horeb. Amy.
Up until the autopsy started this morning, the Dane County Sheriff's Office thought the 26-year-old was killed by a driver, but these preliminary results show his death was not caused by a motor vehicle crash. The scene where this might have happened on Highway JG near Burgum Road is still blocked off tonight. The Sheriff's Office said they were called after a deceased person was found on the side of the road. They haven't released his name yet, but they said he was 26 and dressed in running clothes. People saw him running around Mount Horeb around 12:45 and 1:15 yesterday afternoon. Since this investigation has changed and there are no leads yet, the Dane County Sheriff's Department wants your help.
Even somebody that's just calling and saying, yep, I saw him running here at this time, that helps us put together a timeline. So, like I said, things that may seem insignificant might be significant to us in our investigation.
Law enforcement says you should call the Dane County Communication Center non-emergency line or the Dane County Sheriff's Office tip line if you have information about what might have happened. If you were around Mount Horeb yesterday afternoon, and especially if you have video of this area, Highway JG and Burgum Road, that's the road to Tyrol Basin, please call one of those numbers on your screen. And like she said, even small details can help them shape this situation and bring some answers to a grieving family.
Amy, thank you. Madison police say a man wanted in a domestic violence case was arrested this afternoon at a hotel near the Beltline. That arrest caused 2 floors of the Super 8 to be evacuated. That hotel near Fish Hatchery Road next to the Perkins off the Beltline. Due to the man's criminal history, on-duty Madison Police Department SWAT members assisted with that arrest.
Right now, we're finding out more about a crash that happened in Middleton.
A vehicle went through a business earlier today. Officials say there were minor injuries. Our Gabriella Becerra has more on what happened.
Crews are repairing the side of this building right now, where earlier today a car crashed completely through the side. The car drove into the Hart de Noble building right off of Airport Road. The Middleton Fire Battalion chief said he could not speak of any injuries, but there were people in the building at this time of the crash that could have been hurt.
Some of the employees say that they were in the structure at the time, but they were away from their desks at the time. If they would have not been, things would have been a whole lot different.
One person in the building at the time described the crash as scary and loud. We will continue to bring you updates as we learn them. But for now, in Middleton, Gabriela Becerra, News 3 Now.
It was a bitterly cold day today, and this is the cold before the next storm. Let's check in with meteorologist Dave Caulfield. Dave?
Yeah, Susan, temperatures have been in the low teens for highs basically throughout the afternoon. And while we had plenty of sunshine, didn't really seem to help all that much. Right now, 11 degrees. At least that wind has calmed down for the time being, but that wind will be a major story as we get into this weekend with that snow falling. It could get dicey on the roadways. More on that in just a bit. Temperatures in some other spots at 10 in Watertown, 16, one of the warmer spots in Janesville, but to the north and west already starting to cool down again with temperatures in the single digits. Wind chills are in the single digits mostly across southern Wisconsin, even a few below zero tonight, and we will get back close to zero as far as temperatures are concerned overnight with clouds on the increase. Once again, wind chills could start off between 0 and 10 below zero tomorrow morning before temperatures warm up and we welcome in our next chance of snow. Three things to know: the cold before the storm, that snow moves in tomorrow, and I'll have details on why totals with this system don't tell the whole story in your First Alert forecast.
All right, Dave, thank you. A 17-year-old girl is suing the Baraboo School District, accusing it of failing to respond to her sexual assault and racial discrimination claims.
Well, we first told you about this story last night, but today our Jamie Perez sat down with the teen to find out what message she has for the district.
What Baraboo is doing is not okay.
Deja Banks says she felt unwelcome in the Baraboo School District since the first grade.
I'm being told I couldn't play with people because of my hair or the color of my skin. I thought there was something wrong with me.
She said she was 7 years old when the harassment started.
Every time an issue occurred, I would go and tell a principal. I would go to the office and ask to speak to a principal, and I would tell them what happened, and they told me that they would handle it, but it continued to happen, so I felt as though they weren't doing anything.
Banks said the problems continued for the next 8 years. In a lawsuit filed in federal court Wednesday, she details how she was harassed and bullied for the color of her skin, was called the N-word on numerous occasions, was called a cotton picker at one point, and experienced numerous cases of being sexually harassed by other students.
Well, one person would help stick up for me, but because of that, she also got harassed.
Banks said she hopes her lawsuit can open up the door for administration to push for more education on being culturally sensitive and that sexual harassment of any kind will be dealt with appropriately.
It doesn't feel right. Like, I was born there, and it's heartbreaking not being able to go to what should be your home and not feel like home.
We reached out to the school district today and we were told they have not been served that lawsuit yet and would not comment without seeking legal advice first. A man is dead after a crash in Black Earth that happened yesterday at the intersection of Call Road at U.S. Highway 14. Dane County Sheriff's Office says a 26-year-old man crossed the center line, hit a vehicle head on. That man died at the scene. His toddler daughter was in the back seat and was taken to the hospital. The driver of the other vehicle and her two grandchildren suffered non-life-threatening injuries.
At least one person is injured in a crash between Fitchburg and Oregon. A Dane County communications dispatcher says Fitchburg police, firefighters, and EMS were sent to a crash on County Road MM and Schneider Drive around 1:15 this afternoon. Officials say at least one person was pinned in their vehicle. The crash is under investigation.
A Dodge County woman will spend 2 years in prison for helping a murderer. 33-year-old Rebecca Wolk was convicted of harboring Nigel Schultz, who has pleaded guilty to murdering Bradley Gerke back in 2018. Officers later learned Wolk was there when Schultz shot Gerke and lied to police to help him cover it up. In the last 2 hours, the Middleton Police Department has named its new chief. Right now, he is holding a news conference talking about his new position. Captain Troy Hellenbrand, let's listen in.
It's a special and unique place to work. Is one of the few police departments in the state of Wisconsin who has achieved a very prestigious award of becoming a Wiley Egg accreditation department, and has also been able to endure some challenging times in the recent past. I want to thank members of the Middleton Police Commission, members of the Middleton City Council.
Captain Hellenbrand has been serving as the acting chief since Charles Folk retired last month. He's been with the department for the last 20 years. At a meet and greet last night, Chief Hellenbrand told a group of police commission members and residents that his dream of being in law enforcement started back in 8th grade when he got a ride-along in a squad car with a Middleton officer. And we'll hear more from him tonight. Next hour on News 3 Now at 6.
The Department of Justice says it has busted a drug ring, arresting 22 people from Milwaukee in the process. They say the operation moved drugs like cocaine, heroin, and fentanyl between Puerto Rico and Milwaukee. Search warrants were served yesterday. Law enforcement seized kilos of cocaine, heroin, crack, guns, and almost $300,000 in cash.
An historic day on Capitol Hill as senators took the oath to become jurors in the impeachment trial of President Trump. Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts swore in the senators as jurors. Moments before, Justice Roberts also took an oath to serve as presiding officer. Earlier, the 7 House managers once again marched across the Capitol into the Senate chamber, where they formally presented the articles of impeachment.
President Trump thus warrants impeachment and trial, removal from office, and disqualification to hold and enjoy any office.
President Trump called the proceedings a, quote, hoax. Senators must still vote on the rules of the trial. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says that will happen early next week.
The Senate has overwhelmingly approved a new North American trade pact that rewrites the rules of trade with Canada and Mexico. The measure goes to President Trump for his signature. It would replace the 25-year-old North American Free Trade Agreement known as NAFTA. Wisconsin senators are reacting to the trade agreement. Republican Senator Ron Johnson says Wisconsinites rely on trade agreements that will benefit businesses, ensure collaboration between our trading partners, and promote stable economic growth. The final version of the USMCA will help Wisconsin farmers and manufacturers continue to sell their goods throughout North America. Democratic Senator Tammy Baldwin says NAFTA, which I opposed, cost Wisconsin jobs and needed to be fixed. I am voting for the USMCA because it is a better deal for farmers, manufacturers, businesses, and workers.
We now know what was said during that brief but tense conversation between Senators Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders just after the Democratic presidential debate in Iowa on Tuesday.
I think you called me a liar on national TV.
What?
I think you called me a liar on national TV.
Let's not do it right now. You want to have that discussion, we'll have that discussion. You called me, you told me. All right, let's not do it now.
I don't want to get in the middle. I just want to say hi.
Senator Sanders and Warren have avoided attacking one another so far in the campaign, and the two senators agree politically on most issues. Senator Warren claims Sanders said a woman could not win the presidency, but Senator Sanders denies that. The Warren and Sanders campaigns declined to comment on the post-debate interaction. And Wisconsin Congressman Mark Pocan is endorsing Bernie Sanders for president, giving the Vermont senator a boost in the battleground state 3 months before the primary here on April 7th. Congressman Pocan did not endorse anyone back in 2016. He said he feels a connection with Senator Sanders and thinks he's best positioned to win Wisconsin and defeat President Donald Trump. 15 members of the National Guard are heading to Kuwait for most of the 2020 calendar year. They gathered in Madison today with the governor for their send-off. The 924th Engineering Facilities Detachment is based in Milwaukee, set to deploy to the Middle East after a brief training stint in Fort Bliss, Texas. Their regular jobs are all in construction and engineering, so they'll serve as the Public Works Department at a large base in Kuwait.
Couldn't ask for better timing. You know, leave right after the holidays, get back right before it. I know a lot of people are excited to be back for deer hunting too, so we were really lucked out there.
And after that training in Fort Bliss, they'll deploy to Kuwait, should be back in time for their Thanksgiving 2020 holiday with family and friends. Ahead on News 3 Now at 5, how Wisconsin is moving toward clean energy all across the state.
Coming up tonight at 6, Kevin Lewis has your latest Packer news ahead of the NFC matchup between Green Bay and San Francisco.
And the trade agreement sent stocks soaring on Wall Street today. The Dow climbed some 267 points, the NASDAQ jumped 98, S&P added 27.5. And we'll be right back.
A summit today is focused on moving Wisconsin toward a cleaner and greener energy future. Renew Wisconsin hosted its 9th annual Renewable Energy Summit today at Monona Terrace. Nearly 600 people attended. The summit is tackling the economic and political questions of moving Wisconsin toward clean energy.
Just a lot of excitement about these opportunities to expand renewable energy and new technologies like electric vehicles and how all that's going to work together to build a better Wisconsin.
And this conference is unique because it brings together stakeholders across the renewable energy sector, across the clean energy and clean economy sector, and it brings in Republicans and Democrats for everyone to look toward solutions for Wisconsin in bringing our economy forward to the 21st century.
Last year, Governor Tony Evers issued an executive order to try to reach 100% clean energy in Wisconsin by 2050. Our state still gets over half of its electricity from coal power plants, but a big transition is underway.
Wisconsin State Climatology Office declared Lake Mendota officially frozen on Sunday. The office requires ice to hold for 24 hours before a lake can officially be declared frozen over. January 12th, 2 days after last year's second freeze date. The median freeze date for Lake Mendota is usually December 20th, but the warm December and start of January delayed things this year.
One of the main points they look at is that stretch from Picnic Point over across to Maple Bluff. That's actually the deepest point of Lake Mendota. And so once that freezes across, they can declare it frozen over.
The Clean Lakes Alliance held its annual Mendota Freeze Contest. 20 people guessed Lake Mendota would freeze on January 12th. Jennifer Borgstrom of Madison was randomly selected to win a $1,000 Land's End gift card. Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources hosting a free fishing weekend on Saturday and Sunday. Now, during that time, residents and visitors can fish almost anywhere without a license or a trout stamp. The DNR staff members are urging anglers, though, to be safe out there on the ice. They say some lakes and rivers, of course, may not yet be completely frozen over.
It's hard to believe after how cold it was today. It was very cold, and then there's some messy weather coming this weekend. And busy in the Weather Center, Dave.
Oh, yeah, as always, when we talk about winter weather. So the cold is here now. The snow is on the way, arriving tomorrow. Live look in Madison on the Edgewater Skycam. We saw plenty of sunshine and clear skies today. The only problem is temperatures really didn't go up all that much. We started off near zero this morning with wind chills of about 10 below in Madison. The almanac is very misleading, in fact, because it says the high is 24. That's technically true. That happened at midnight, but much of the day was in the single digits and teens. So technically, we ended up below normal with that high temperature. We were well below normal for much of the day. Speaking of normal, we normally see some snow this time of year, and our next system is on the way. We could see it causing some messy times for portions of Kansas, Oklahoma, into Texas. This is a type of system that we call a panhandle hook, and that can originate over the Rockies or the West Coast, but it hooks up into and starts the path to our neck of the woods right over the Texas and Oklahoma panhandle, and it's a pretty literal description with this particular system. Doppler track quiet across southern Wisconsin. It won't remain that way for much longer. We have alert days in the forecast for Friday and Saturday. That snow develops late in the afternoon tomorrow and may mix with some freezing rain or rain as we get into Saturday morning. Travel impacts are likely on Friday night, even into early Saturday, as that mix transitions back to snow. Total snow accumulations are looking like 3 to 6 inches area-wide, with higher amounts to the north and less to the south. We'll talk about why those totals may not tell the whole story in just a bit. So winter weather advisory for everyone across southern Wisconsin. Winter storm warnings farther to the north and west where more snow is expected. So let's take a look at what we're expecting here on Future Track. We're expecting another cold morning as temperatures dip into the lower single digits by the time we start tomorrow. That snow moves in from the south and west. Note the time here, folks. This is just in time for the start of the evening commute, so that will be impacted tomorrow. Something to keep in mind as that snow moves in around 4 o'clock to Madison. Then we see the snow continue to affect southern Wisconsin into Friday night. Saturday morning, a little bit of freezing rain or rain could mix in, especially south of Madison. That will cut down on snow totals closer to the state line, but still could make things a little bit hazardous early on Saturday. And then by the afternoon, I think that snow starts to make its way out. So 3 to 5 inches of snow expected for basically everyone across far southern Wisconsin. A little bit farther north, some slightly higher totals are possible. Near the Dells, about 5 to 6 inches. inches, and then closer to that winter storm warning, 6 to 8 inches, maybe a little bit more possible for our friends a little bit closer to Eau Claire. So I mentioned that snow totals can be misleading sometimes, and that's true because 3 to 5 inches of snow, yeah, it's measurable, it's significant in some aspects, but we've seen more snow than that across southern Wisconsin. However, check out the wind gusts when that snow is going to be coming down. This is around 10 or 10:30. So blizzard wind gusts are 35 miles per hour. So we could be talking about at least some time periods of near blizzard-like conditions across southern Wisconsin. So that usually doesn't translate to just a couple of inches of snow, but the impacts are going to be high with this system as wind gusts are staying pretty high even into Saturday morning. So we have on our weather impact tracker, driving and walking with this system, especially Friday night, we're going to see those major impacts clearing because we're not talking about any snow totals that will necessarily set our world on fire. That's going to be moderate impacts, but definitely a system that you're going to want to pay attention to for the commute home tomorrow. And then if you are out traveling or doing anything Friday night into early Saturday morning. After that, the consistent cold settles in with temperatures in the teens. Now let's take a look at your first alert traffic update. The Beltline at Todd Drive. A little bit of slow go in both directions right now. Looks like a stalled vehicle near the interstate in the Beltline, not causing too many problems, but we are noticing those normal slowdowns on the Beltline, both westbound and eastbound. Traffic is a little bit slow from John Nolan to Verona Road on the westbound side, 11 minutes with an average speed of 25 miles per hour. And right now, 26 minutes from University Ave eastbound to the interstate with an average speed of around 35 miles per hour. That's your first alert traffic update.
Thank you, Dave.
Ahead on News 3 Now at 5, Dane County has purchased some land in Middleton. We'll tell you what it'll be used for after a short break. The Salvation Army of Dane County says it is $55,000 short of its goal for the holiday season. The Red Kettle campaign raised $545,000. The goal was $600,000. The organization says Red Kettle donations make up 30% of annual funding. Salvation Army says donations will be accepted through the end of this month. If they don't close that gap, they'll try to make it up during the summer Red Kettle campaign in July.
Dane County is buying 79 acres of land in the town of Middleton. They say they're advancing wetland restoration efforts, offering floodwater storage, and creating public recreation opportunities. The city says by saving this property from being developed in the future and restoring it to prairie land, about 5.9 million gallons of water will be prevented from flowing downstream each year.
This in turn will help enhance the quality of the wetlands below by keeping nutrients and sediment on the land. And again, providing an area and a buffer where when rain falls, it will stay versus had this area been developed where much more storm water, once it hit the ground, would have been flushed into the drainage system.
The land is next to Highway 14 and lies in the headwaters of Black Earth Creek.
And stay with us, Dave. We'll have another check of your forecast in just a moment.
For a forecast that keeps your family safe, watch First Alert Weather.
Tonight on the CBS Evening News, with the historic impeachment trial just days away, a government watchdog rules the White House violated the law by withholding aid from Ukraine. Also, some medical news tonight, the wake-up call for women and doctors when it comes to treating heart disease, and how one after-school program is celebrating the legacy of some long-forgotten Black composers. That's all tonight right here on the CBS Evening News.
It's a cold one out there tonight.
It is. The cold is here now. The snow is coming tomorrow. But for now, we're talking about temperatures dipping into the single digits again with increasing clouds overnight. 10-day forecast showing the alert days on Friday and Saturday. That snow moves in tomorrow afternoon. Tomorrow night, I think, will be the worst conditions because we have the snow and wind gusts of about 30 to 35 miles per hour. So that's going to make travel very hazardous Friday night into early Saturday. We could see some rain and freezing rain mix in with that snow on Saturday morning. Then things changing back to snow before everything ends. By the time we get to the end of Saturday, about 3 to 6 inches of snow for southern Wisconsin.
We'll have more updates in 30 minutes. CBS Evening News is next.